Hi everyone, and thanks for checking out my channel. I'm going to run through the market midweek for today, having a look at WTI, natural gas, copper, nickel, corn, and coffee, and having a look what could be ahead of us for the coming day. So it was a rather bearish day with major breakdown across the board. We've seen WTI breaking down the range that I was expecting the price to stay in, so that was basically 38.5 up to 41.5 here. Got a really neat breakdown today on that limit. So of course the scenario of seeing now a retest of 37 is extremely likely now, but even a break lower to the target that I had at 34.5 is getting very much real now. I'm expecting now some bounce to happen, so we can see the momentum today has been rather strong to the downside, losing more than 5% to the lowest point. That's reaching actually 37. I think at that point we're having some sort of a divergence that is actually showing here. Too early to say if it's right to buy or not, but we could potentially see some pullback and a retest of 38.5. So at that point, of course, here the right thing to do is very likely to short any spike for the time being. We could set a target to the upside. Potentially 39 could be a nice entry point to reload short position and clear up that divergence. Trading this from 37 up to 39 is of course interesting, but there's a fair bit of risk here. Should we actually break lower, as the 37 did actually hold the price a couple of times, but it might not hold next time, so a little bit risky. I would like to see a bigger divergence, maybe on the 4 hours at that point on oversold to buy it comfortably. So I'll probably pass on this and wait. Should we see move to the upside to 39, entering short again, or potentially buying on the 37 on some stronger signal. Looking at natural gas, natural gas has been holding relatively well for now, but as we can see, there's a major 4 hours divergence that's in place since we got that gap to the upside at 2.8. So I still believe we are going to break lower. We are still inside that rising channel, so I believe the first really big resistance support we're gonna see is 2.9 in that area. That would actually close the rollover gap, the last one, and then we'll see should we actually get some back signal here. We could actually open long position or potentially hold or add to short. We actually break that level as the next stop. There's something about 2.7, but then we move into 2.4 very quickly, potentially closing entirely the gap to 2.1. So that would be of course a major drop. So it's still a lot of work to do on this, but of course this is definitely something looking at, as it will be a very rewarding trade. So we can see here the divergence. I was actually looking at the 1 hour. It's still quite obvious here on the 4 hours as well. Usually 4 hours divergence on natural gas, as you can check the history, are very reliable. The last one we got at 2.774 did actually bring the price back down to 1.8. So we'll see. Still of course a chance that the current is some sort of a bull flag, but it's not really, doesn't actually show with so much accuracy now, but there's some sort of a bull flag here that can still break higher. So the second target I would have here, should we actually break that flag, would be the 2.45. I think that would be the perfect short entry point, as at that point we could actually do another test on the 1 hour divergence we're having here, but very likely we would be meeting again that 4 hours trend line on the RSI around there, and that would be definitely a nice entry point for short position. Looking at copper, copper has been also very resilient to the move to the downside today, but did actually break, so very key level at 3076. Yeah, it was that inverted cup and handle pattern we're having. That's at the end of that really big move to the upside. It's usually a reversal pattern that are actually highly reliable. So we got the breakdown, retest of the waterline here, and now the price is somehow trading under that no resistance line. So I believe 307, 308 will be solid resistance from here. The first target, as we can see here, will be the height of the cup, so roughly visiting the lower end of the channel, 2.97. Then we could see some bounce from there, or potentially further move to the downside, as I have a target at so that's the hourly. Looking at the daily chart, target at 2.7 for the break of that rising wedge, and the divergence clearance here on the daily that is actually pointing here to 2.7. I think I did draw down one before, but if we take the origin of the wedge roughly like this and we get, say, a breakdown here, we're actually looking at the potential 2.5. So anyway, 2.7 is the first target. We see some follow through. We could get 2.5, but of course profit taking will happen in the middle. We are not going to go down straight here. There's a lot of resistance still showing here for the price to move lower, so definitely need to be patient on this to see some lower price. On nickel, a little bit the same, but we did broke the rising channel here. That happened at 15,860, and then we got a drop down, small divergence here, but that was enough to trigger a revisit and a retest of that lower trend line here that got rejected today quite strongly, and now we are back toward the lower end here of that some sort of head and shoulder pattern we are drawing here. So you can see here the head here, and we might be forming now the right shoulder for potential breakdown later on. Also, it's been quite resilient to actually proper downside, but 15,000 I think would be a fair target for that move. We're still having a trend line running, I think from a larger time frame. I think we've got the 4 hours. Obvious. Yeah, we're still having a trend line that's running somewhere at below 15,000, so I believe there's a chance we could actually visit that level before we see some rebound and retracement to the upside. But that divergence here, I think it's also showing on the daily quite obviously, is actually pointing for correction to move lower to the lower end, 14,000. For that we need to break the rising wedge, so that might not happen that time, and we have to wait for a bit later on. Corn was a bit of the same situation with a very big 4 hours divergence. We've seen a breakdown today toward the 400 level. That's still inside the rising channel, so we need to break that level to see some follow through and clear up the divergence that is actually down to 320. So it's quite a large move to the downside. Either that will happen on that break, or we'll have to see another move to the upside and double top or something like this. That's no answer to that yet, but definitely this is moving south for now, so we'll definitely check on that 400 level and see what happens there. And finally, looking at coffee, that did resist somehow the move down today, but did actually give up a little bit end of the session right now. So we can see that falling wedge is still quite protected, so that one is on the 4 hours. We're still having the divergence firmly in place and a bit of more room to go, so we could see a move double bottom at 103 that could actually be happening either by the end of the week or potentially next week, before we do actually start reaccumulating and re-attempting to break higher. So that attempt to break the 108 failed. It could have actually happened, but we could see that the momentum was a little bit weak and we got caught with the sell-off today on the market. So yeah, that's about it for tonight. Thanks for watching. Trade safe, be very careful, there's a lot of volatility around, but the market's been under serious pressure now, so either this is just some temporary drop that we is going to get bought back. It's to be, the question is still to be answered, but be careful, watch out if you holding long position, and cover if needed, but it could actually be the start of something a little bit bigger. So yeah, careful with any exposure to the long side. Trade safe and speak to you soon. Cheers, bye.